Hey everybody, welcome to the Son of Wonder. Mandalorian Season 3 Episode 5 has dropped, so let's conversationalize. Alright guys, so this episode was good. It definitely moved some things along, definitely some interesting and cool details, so let's get right into it. Greef Karga on Navarro as the High Magistrate, as the leader of his city that we saw in the first episode of this season. The city has been attacked by Gorian Shard, the pirates. Gorian Shard, Pirate King, is back, wanting to take vengeance on Greef Karga for killing some of his men in the first episode. So the first episode did matter. So that's at least good. It set up some stuff for this episode. So that's nice to know that they gave some more meaning to the first episode, because largely the first episode at this point has felt a little meaningless. But now it has some, so that's great. But that's the beginning of the episode. Navarro is attacked, under siege. The pirates have taken control of it. Greef Karga, before he has to leave his palace, sends out a message to the New Republic, specifically the Lieutenant Carson Teva, who we have seen in the previous Mandalorian seasons. He, along with a cameo from Dave Filoni, was one of the New Republic pilots who gave the Mandalorian a free pass by not arresting him when Mando crashed on the ice planet in episode 2 of season 2. He was the main pilot who spoke and let Mando go, so that was nice of him. So now he's received a message from Greef Karga asking for the New Republic's help in defeating the pirates and taking back Navarro. Now here's the cool part. When Carson receives this message, he's at a New Republic base. I believe in the Outer Rim. It could be the Mid Rim, but I'm pretty sure it's the Outer Rim. And after the message finishes, guess who walks up to him? Garazeb Aurelios. They don't mention him by name, but it's very obvious that that is who it is, because he's clearly voiced by Steve Blum, who does Garazeb Aurelios' voice in Star Wars Rebels. He is a Lasat, and when you see a Lasat who's a rebel, it is 99% of the time going to be Garazeb Aurelios. If you don't know who that is, he is a character featured in Star Wars Rebels, and he is one of the main characters of that show. He's part of the Ghost crew alongside Ezra Bridger, Kanan Jarrus, Sabine Wren, and Hera Syndulla. His species is known as a Lasat. Great backstory there. Highly recommend the show. Rebels is one of the best Star Wars things ever produced. Go watch it. So seeing him in live action was a very special treat that I did not expect to get to see. He's only in it for that one scene, but I have a feeling he will show up again, so it was awesome to see him. But Carson tells Zeb, as he's known, Zeb is the short version of Garazeb Aurelios, but Carson tells Zeb to send the message to the New Republic to send help. But Zeb tells Carson that they haven't gotten any contact from the New Republic, Coruscant specifically, in weeks, and that they're swamped. Like, they're just dealing with too many things right now. They can't contact them in time. So Carson just decides to go to Coruscant himself. And he goes there, sees one of the superiors, one of the New Republic superiors, officer, I guess, tells him the situation. And the guy's like, oh, well, yeah, I get the gist. Basically, he tells him he can't give him any resources right then. He says he can't help. Mainly because Navarro is not part of the New Republic. It is an independent planet. And this is brought to the officer's attention by, also, guess who? Elia Kane, from the third episode of this season, which is kind of lackluster in the middle, largely because of the Elia Kane plotline. But I am glad, at least, that they are continuing this in this season, so it's not just one thing they did, and it was annoying, and they never bring it up again. It actually is something that does appear meaningful in this season so far. And she walks into the office because she sees Carson go into the office. So clearly she's some sort of spy. Clearly she is doing something for Moff Gideon, being a spy in the New Republic, figuring out their intel, seeing the best ways to defeat them from the inside. Or maybe not even defeat them, but like I said, gather enough information that can be useful for the remnant of the Empire. And Elia is the one who brings up the fact that Navarro has not joined the New Republic. And she basically says that, well, maybe them being oppressed by the pirates for a while will teach them to join us. We'll show them that they can't be protected without us. And Carson's like, well, that's an awfully Imperial way to think. Of course, she was an Imperial. And she's trying to justify it, but clearly it's very obvious she's just trying to do this so Navarro won't gain any help because she's bad and she's an Imperial, proven by the 3rd episode. So Carson goes elsewhere. He goes to the Mandalorian covert on the planet filled with dinosaur dragons and baby dragons and giant alligators. Not a very great covert. But he finds them, and the Mandalorians are like, how did you find us? And sure enough, R5, still with Mando at this current time, used to fight alongside Carson during the Empire Rebels War, the Galactic Civil War, as it's known in Star Wars. So R5 tipped him off. That makes sense, old friend. But Carson tells Mando about Greef Karga needing help because he knows that Mando is a friend of Greef Karga's. And this whole time, Carson seems to be aware that something bigger is going on. That it's not just pirates in this one area and the Imperial remnant in this other area. No, it seems to be connected, at least in his mind. He even tells the New Republic officer that by the time that they act, when they finally realize what's going on, it's going to be too late. And it seems like they might be alluding to the First Order. I really hope they aren't, mainly just because I want them to steer away from the sequel trilogy, act like that never happened, and write a new future for Star Wars that's infinitely better. But it is a very interesting idea that this is all connected, that somehow the pirates and the Imperial remnant are connected, forming a larger enemy, possibly led by Grand Admiral Thrawn. And that would make sense because the world that Mando finds Ahsoka on in Season 2, Corvus, was run by a magistrate who didn't seem, at the time, Imperial looking. She didn't have any stormtroopers with her, but she used to be a part of the Empire, and she was revealed to be working for Grand Admiral Thrawn. So it seems like Thrawn has his hands tied in a bunch of different operations going on across the galaxy, possibly trying to form a new empire and bring it back to the reign it had before. And Carson is worried about this, and that's one of the reasons he came to Mando for help, is because I think he wanted to let Mando know that, to say, hey, this isn't right here, something's going on. And Carson also has heard that Moff Gideon did not actually make it to the War Tribunal he was supposed to make it to, which is what one of the other guys said back in episode 3 of this season, during the whole Dr. Pershing stuff, and one of the guys in that scene mentions, I heard Moff Gideon didn't make it to his War Tribunal. That is brought back up here. Now, after Carson leaves, this is where the Mandalorians decide to discuss whether they should go help Greef Karga or not. Now, Mando, he's the first person to give a speech. It's cool because apparently you have to hold one of the armorer's hammers in order to speak in front of all the Mandalorians. I guess that's just a thing they have. It's kind of a cool rule. But anyway, Mando is the first person to give a speech. He knows that the Mandalorians had to fight Greef Karga before, back in Season 1. But it's interesting because he says that was many cycles ago. So clearly some significant amount of time has passed between Seasons 1 and 3. I don't know exactly how much time, but definitely a lot. And he says that even though the Mandalorians did have to fight Greef Karga before, Greef Karga did help Mando protect the child in the end. Karga's changed his ways, so Mando believes the Mandalorians can trust him. Also, Mando sees this as an opportunity to accept the offer that Greef gave him at the beginning of this season by settling on a plot of land on Navarro with the entire Creed as a new covert for the Mandalorians. Which would be nice, considering the fact that the one they currently have is filled with alligators, baby dragons, and grown dragons, and dinosaurs, and who knows what the mess else. Probably a good idea, Mando. All the other Mandalorians should have thought about that one sooner, after some of the foundlings they had were getting kidnapped by dragons. But that's Mando's take on it. That's Mando's way of convincing the Mandalorians to help him save Greef Karga and the people of Navarro from the pirates. Then the armorer asks, would anyone else like to speak? And Paz Vizsla gets up. He's like, I want to speak. He takes the hammer. And he starts out with, we had to fight Greef Karga before, and I watched as my brothers and sisters fell at the hands of the wretched Imperial hunters who were after us, all to protect the little foundling. And he's pointing to Grogu. And he's like, so the question is why? Why should we risk our lives again for the Mandalorian? Why should we lay down our lives again for a cause that's not even ours? That's basically the point he seems to be trying to make at first. And throughout this whole time, I'm thinking, the dude just saved your kid in the last episode. And so that's banging in my head. I'm like, dude, like, that doesn't make any sense. He just saved your son. Now you're bringing this up. I don't understand. And then, after Paz says, so the question is why, there's a delay. And then he says, because we're Mandalorians. And I've had my disagreements with this man, and he points to Mando before, but he saved my son. He rescued my son. And Bo-Katan did not give up on my child when everybody else did. So I will fight for Mando, and I will fight for a brighter future for us, and we will go help Greef Karga. This is the way. And that was one of the biggest stand up and cheer moments probably in this whole show. It was unexpected based on the way he started it, because he has been gruff in the past, but just the payoff that you get from Mando saving Paz's son in the last episode, this being the full payoff of that moment, that stand up and cheer like, yes, that's right, you had your disagreements in the past, but you recognized Mando's honor, and now you want to take the fight to the pirates, take the fight to the Empire, thus doing so. So I love that so much. He's willing to risk his life because Mando was willing to risk his life to save his son. So good. But the Mandalorians go and attack the pirates. They attack Gorian Shard. Mando flies around in his N1, causing a diversion, while Bo-Katan can attack the main pirate ship from another side. The Mandalorians themselves drop in on jetpacks in the city of Navarro to fight the pirates. Babu Frick and the Anzellans are freaking out. They're like, oh no, there's all these people falling over everywhere. Pirates getting shot. There's this one pirate with this massive gun that starts shooting. But before that, Paz gets to come in at the last second when some of the Mandalorians are getting boxed in. He flies in on his jetpack and starts shooting a giant machine gun everywhere. It's awesome. Now, this is a major nitpick, and I feel bad for even bringing it up. I wish the blaster shots were a little bit more pronounced in the sound. For some reason, it just felt like they were a little quiet in this scene, and I didn't know why. I felt like every time it should be like, pew, pew, but instead like, pew, pew. But other than that, it's a great scene, great action sequence, and Mandalorian and Bo-Katan do end up destroying Gorian Shard along with his massive pirate vessel. And before that, even the armorer gets to take a few whacks at the pirates and destroy the ones that are firing the giant gun at Paz and the other Mandalorians. So, lots of awesome moments. Navarro is saved. Greef Karga is reestablished as the High Magistrate. No more pirates. Then Bo-Katan is called to talk with the armorer. And I didn't really know what this would be about. I assumed it would be about the Mythosaur. And it is, but there's something extra added to that. When Bo-Katan goes to see the armorer, it's in the armorer's old forge from the first season. And the armorer says, take off your helmet. And Bo-Katan is clearly surprised. She's like, the whole point of the creed is to keep the helmet on? And the reason they give for the armorer telling her to do this, it's a hard one to sell because the entire creed of the Mandalorians is don't take off your helmet. That's like the most important rule. If you break it, you become an apostate like Mando did, and you have to redeem yourself in the living waters. For sure. Now, I get that Bo-Katan is a special case. She only just became a part of the creed, and she wasn't a part of the creed before. She was walking around with her helmet off, no problem. Only recently has this been established. So the armorer tells her to remove her helmet. And I'm still very conflicted on how I feel about that. Because I feel like in some ways that negates all the things that Mando had to do to get himself redeemed from taking off his helmet to save Grogu in the second season. And now the armorer is just telling Bo-Katan to take it off with no problem. That one's something. But the armorer reveals that apparently she did believe Bo-Katan about her seeing a mythosaur in the end of the last episode. I thought the armorer totally didn't. Apparently she did. But she talks to Bo about that. She says that because Bo saw a mythosaur, it's a sign of the next age. It's a sign that all Mandalorians will be united. And the armor kind of starts the conversation off like, yes, some of the Mandalorians follow the way, but not all follow the way. Largely, we've strayed from the way. But the funny part is, the creed of Mandalorians they currently have on Navarro right now, I thought that was mostly it when it came to Mandalorians. I didn't think there were that many others. At least that's the way it seemed. But based on other conversations in the season, it seems like there have been a few other sects of Mandalorians scattered throughout the galaxy, which is what Mando says. So basically the armorer is trying to say that because you saw the mythosaur, that's the sign of the next coming age, an age where all Mandalorians can come together finally and be reunited, and we're going to take back Mandalore. And she basically says that Bo-Katan is going to be the one to do it. So based on what they said in Book of Boba Fett about a new person that holds the title of Mandalore rising, riding the mythosaur, and leading the Mandalorians into their next age, seeming like right now that Bo-Katan is going to be the person to do that. How do I feel about that? It does make sense because I don't know if Mando even would want, like, even though the show is about Mando, about Mandalorian, I don't know if that's something he wants, is to be the new Mandalore and be the leader of all the Mandalorians. Like, that's never really been in his radar as, like, a leader to that scale. Bo-Katan, however, that definitely has been on her radar. She tried to lead the Mandalorians during the Imperial era. That didn't work. Then she tried to take the Mandalorians back from the Empire and lead them. And then the Purge happened. So she's been up and down and up and down, and her whole story has been a mess when it comes to trying to lead these people. But now she finally gets the chance to redeem all of that and lead the Mandalorians into this new age with the mythosaur. And to me, the mythosaur is arguably more of a sign of leadership and unification than even the Darksaber is, because it's such a rare creature that nobody thought it existed in the past thousands of years. So it does fall in line with Bo-Katan's arc. The armorer announces this to all of the Mandalorians, and she says that Bo-Katan has walked both worlds, which is why she's allowed Bo-Katan to take her helmet off. Because Bo-Katan has been not a member of the Creed. She's been like some of the other scattered Mandalorians, but she's also been a member of the Creed, where she hasn't been able to remove her helmet in front of everybody. So I'm pretty sure that's what she means. And so she's going to send Bo-Katan out to find some of the other Mandalorians and bring them back to the Creed on Navarro so they can all be united, and then they're going to go take back Mandalore by using the mythosaur to lead them into their next age. It's an awkward position because I see where they're going. I see what they're doing. I see it. The structure of the season thus far, we're on episode 5, is a little wonky. Starts out with Mando redeeming himself from removing his helmet. Now Bo-Katan just gets to remove her helmet, period. And she's going to go find other Mandalorians and unite them, which seems to be what the whole season should have been about. But honestly, we've been kind of scattershot as far as stories are concerned. I just don't think they've been very balanced this season. I don't think they've been very focused. And that's especially annoying because that was the same problem that Bad Batch Season 2 had. So, it's getting on my nerves, the inconsistency and the non-focused story. It's grinding my gears a little bit. But the path forward is an interesting one. And I thought that's where the episode was going to end. Then there's one little thing tacked on at the end. It's incredibly interesting. Arguably the most interesting thing about this episode. Carson, the Lieutenant Carson, the New Republic Lieutenant, is flying through space. I don't know why exactly. I figured he would have just hyperspaced back to the New Republic base he was originally at. But he's flying through space and he sees this destroyed Imperial looking shuttle, but apparently it was a New Republic shuttle. It looks Imperial. I guess the New Republic repurposed some of the Imperial shuttles for their own use. That's what I'm assuming anyway. But this New Republic shuttle is like mostly destroyed. Like there's smoke coming off and it's all damaged. And Carson contacts one of the other lieutenants. And he's like, yeah, I found this shuttle out here. Not sure what it was transporting or who attacked it. So he sends a probe out to go look. And it scans the ship. And everybody inside is dead. And Carson tells his lieutenant to check the flight logs of any recent departures concerning New Republic ships, New Republic shuttles. And sure enough, the transponder signal matches one of the ones on the flight logs that was transporting Moff Gideon. And Carson's suspicions were confirmed. Moff Gideon did not make it to his war tribunal. He has escaped. Rescued by who? We don't know. Not for sure. But when the probe looks further in the ship, it scans the ship again to see if there's any evidence of who could have saved Gideon, and it finds a piece of Beskar. And then you hear the other lieutenant go, wait, so does that mean that Mandalorians busted out Moff Gideon? What? Does that mean Mandalorians helped Moff Gideon escape? And then it ends on that. Like Carson in utter shock, like, wait, what? That doesn't make any sense. That's nuts. That's weird. And it just so happens to coincide with Bo-Katan leaving to find other Mandalorians to unite all of the Mandalorians. They're not going to be united if some of them are working for the Empire. For Moff Gideon especially. So that definitely raises the stakes and ups the interest level. Because there's a whole Fithillian amount of questions that I have now concerning that. Like if there was Beskar at the crime scene, then you know something is definitely up. Especially with all the stuff Elia Kane's been up to, with all the idea of the pirates and the Empire being connected, and all those TIE interceptors that attacked Bo-Katan and Mando in Episode 3 that destroyed her castle. There is something deeper going on here. But we only have 3 episodes left. That's what I was talking about, that wonky structure. It's like, it feels weird because I feel like this should have been one of the earlier episodes to establish that intrigue going forward. But we only have 3 episodes left. So, I don't know. But that is nuts, for sure. And I am very curious, like, the idea of Mandalorians, like, which Mandalorian would work for the Empire? They were wiped out by the Empire. I feel like no Mandalorian would have any motivation to join the Empire. And why would Beskar be in the ship if it's indestructible? Like, who would have left that there? The only way I can figure it is that maybe in the struggle, one of the pieces of armor from the Mandalorians got knocked off, like what happened to Bo-Katan's shoulder plate in the last episode. Maybe that was it. But it's also possible it could have been planted there by the Empire, by Moff Gideon, to make the New Republic go against the Mandalorians and think they rescued Moff Gideon from the New Republic. So, I don't know, but definitely intriguing, and I am very curious to see what that means going forward. But thank you guys for watching my review. Like I said, very intrigued going forward. Lots of interesting stuff in this episode and some really great get up and cheer moments. So, thank you guys for watching. Have a very blessed day. May the Lord be with you. May the Force be with you. Goodbye. And that's a wrap.